What up, and welcome back to another Malazan Book of the Fallen video. We're continuing the tournament with my good friend, the High Fist, Ruth and Bad. What up, dog? Thanks for coming back. Are you excited? Let's do these picks.
What's up, Iskar? I am excited and I smell blood. I smell the blood of a lot of trash tier characters, and I smell an ass kicking coming from a lot of demigods. So let's get into it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna throw the names into the randomizer, and then we'll see what these matchups look like and maybe go through a couple just to whet that appetite. And then I think maybe the following week after this video goes up, we can just start posting those matches and see who beats whose ass.
So just 1 minute before we get into the randomizer. So what's your dream match for round? If you could have a dream match for round one, what would it be?
I think for round one. Shit.
Yeah, for round one. For what we're doing now.
Yeah, for what we're doing now. I don't know. We had a lot of big upsets last time, like where good people went out in the very beginning, but I think one of those kind of like classic hatred ones where there's like actual narrative book ties to it. So like to be able to see Callum take down Pearl more in a kind of one-on-one situation instead of getting shot in the back by him or whatever, that would be pretty juicy.
Yeah, I was thinking Karsa, Icarium, but I guess we can always keep that for a later date.
Yeah, I think that's like a semifinals type of a matchup. I don't know. Yeah. No, that's a good call. So if I get my Pearl Callum though, because I think Pearl can never get his ass kicked too many times.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. First, I'll share my screen, I guess, and I'll have to grab out all the names. This is going to be kind of clunky, I guess, but we'll take all 80, how many ever people we previewed last time, and then I'm just going to straight up put them into the random list generator. So I guess they're all there. I guess they're upside down. They're kind of anti. Oh, what?
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we got them all in there. Holy cow.
Yep.
All right, technology is not my strong suit. And then I guess I just click randomize. Oh, shit. Look at that. I can already see some crazy ones. All right. There was 84 items in our list, and then we're just going to go like 1 versus 2, 2 or 3 versus 4, et cetera, I guess.
I foresee bad times for Badlands. That's all I can say from what I saw.
See if we can. Oh my God, look at that. They're even in there. I'm going to have to just do a little XL magic, I guess, right here to match them up. Damn. Okay, cool. So we got Topper versus Ruth and Good. Jesus.
Okay.
Christ.
I mean that's a hard one right off the bat. You know what? We put them both on the strong second tier level, if I'm not mistaken, where the two of them are both really strong.
I think it's two different fighting styles. This is one of those ones where we said too, assassin versus like somebody who's more traditional.
I mean, I'm honestly going to have to go with Topper on this, Iskar, even though that might be surprise. Even though Ruth and Good is my namesake and he has the cool Storm Rider armor and all that, and he's an elder or whatever, I'm still going to have to go with Topper. For some reason, I think Topper's strong enough to find a way to kill him.
Damn, that's crazy. See, I was kind of leaning the other way because I think he's like unstoppable in some ways. He's like insane. So
the thing, let me explain why. Right, if he had done something impressive against the Kache Naruk, I would have certainly considered putting him on a higher level. But let's face it, while it is an act of bravery, it ultimately results in no strategic or tactical victory, and the Kache Naruk just beat him down.
That's true. The proof is in the pudding. And all right. Okay. So
it's a good fight though. Nice start.
Yeah, that's a good match one to kick things off, right? Anytime Topper shows up, you're doing pretty good. So second match is this is classic. Absalar versus Leomund of the Flails, and it's kind of like, in a way, I don't know, for ice people, for me it like is reminiscent of wanting to see Kiska kick his ass the whole time, but that one I think is hands down Absalar. Like, he might be good with the Flails, but there's no way. Come on.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's weird how in the Bonehunters, despite the two of them having such an important part to play in that book, their paths never really directly cross.
Yeah, true.
Even though we have that Sister of Nights and the Pestilence and all that, their paths almost cross at several instances, but they never really do. But yeah, I mean, Absalar's on a completely different level. Her Shadow Dance is on a completely different level. Leomund of the Flails, very interesting character, but stands absolutely no chance against her.
I kind of thought he was like one of the names on Absalar's list from whatever that was, the Bonehunters or whatever. I was surprised that he made that through. Okay, cool. Third match is your boy, a huge Memories of Ice dude, Mock versus, actually, is Krum Memories of Ice too? I think he is, right? No.
I mean, as Krum turns up in the Bonehunters and he kind of sticks around. I mean, Krum's my boy as well, but let's face it, the Bowl Brothers and the Mott Irregulars and all that are extremely cool. We spoke about how awesome they were in our last chat, Iskar, but Mock is still
There's no way. Yeah. And actually just kind of, he's the third Segula too, right? And third match, so he's the number 3, so we get a little bit of coincidence there. The Errant may be up in this match or something.
Oh, nice. I like that. And Topper is number 1, the top name. Topper.
Boom. Dude, it's a fated tournament is what I'm saying, and everything is already kind of.
I mean, maybe I can just do one more lame pun with the second one as well. So Absalar versus Leomund is a woman versus a man, and therefore Leo man. I mean, okay, I should stop this. Let's just go to the next one.
I think now we're reaching.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be a bad time for Badlands after all in the next one. So
exactly, and that's the one of the characters that we said is kind of was third tier, like deep third tier. Even though I love the kind of Ice Blood storylines and stuff. There's just, this is Animander Rake is a favorite to go deep.
Yeah, I mean, Badlands versus Animander Rake is like Andre the Giant versus your uncle.
Exactly.
It's just, I mean,
it's Animander Rake. Yeah. This one's going to be, the fifth one is going to be a heartbreaker, right? Because we know Whiskeyjack is a crowd favorite and stuff. And so it'll be sad to not at least see him get deeper in the tournament, but that's a wrap. It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my question. Right? So, is it just normal Icarium, or are we going with sort of rampage mode Icarium? Because let's not underestimate Whiskeyjack here. Whiskeyjack, while not quite on the level of Darcene, he's on the level of making Darcene kind of work for it. So I would put Whiskeyjack as a swordsman on the same level as a Shimmer or an Iron Bars or something like that, where like you're just under the Darcene level. Yeah. So
that's true. And it is no powers, right? So like that's a good argument. It'll be interesting to see. These are both characters that everybody knows, right? Like you don't have to have finished the Crippled God to know either of these. So there will be just kind of, I think, some real genuine kind of.
This is probably the two most popular characters being pitted against each other so far in terms of voting. This is probably the closest one.
Yeah. First couple of books, the big characters. You just never want to see Whiskeyjack go out, but that is true. He was like neck and neck with the Sem, so we'll see. This one's really interesting. So you got a Segula. She was like the next one behind Mock, I guess. She was the girlfriend from the Ice books, right? Of Jan, who's also epic. So she's like very high ranked Segula bottom line against Fierce Sengar, who is like was a big general, but also like kind of G'd up fighter in his own right too. What do you think?
I think she has to take this.
Yeah.
While he is strong and the Tidur and all that are strong and fears no one to mess with, a high-ranking Segula is not really going to have much of a hard time against just. It's not even like he's the T-Steedur's great warrior.
Totally. Yeah. Any high-ranking Segula pretty much is like, unstoppable in a one-on-one against anybody, kind of. So the rule, which is also a Memories of Ice Segula, is going to go up against like a 140-year-old man or however old Braventooth is. That should be a knockover.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Braventooth is a fantastic character, but let's face it, Thurul is a Segula. Maybe not a high-ranking Segula, but a Segula nonetheless who was worthy of traveling as part of the punitive army when it was just 3 guys whom they were sending over. So just for that, and you know what, both Thurul and Sino did put up a good fight against Tool, even though Tool won. They were still able to exchange blows with Tool. Do I see Braventooth being able to do that? Not really.
Yeah, totally. It would be interesting to see Thurul or Senu go through and go up against Tool in another matchup too. So I agree.
The next one breaks my heart, Iskar.
This is awesome. This is great. So this is where fate's just the bomb, right? And we put it in a random generator and you end up with absolute gold because they like kind of shit talked each other. Well, he was working for Kaladin Brood, right? And then so this one will be really interesting because with no powers again, right? So it's just like, but he is a way bigger dude and has a hammer and stuff. I don't know. What do you think? That's crazy.
So it breaks my heart for 2 reasons. The first is that when we spoke of dream matches earlier, this should have been what struck me. Because Kala going away would be satisfactory for the fans. We referenced the conversation between these 2 guys like 100 times in the last video that we did in the build-up to the tournament. I should have thought of that. And while Kala is one of my favorite characters in the series, and Kaladin Brood maybe not, Kaladin Brood still takes this hand down. He is Kaladin fucking Brood after all. And it's a shame to see Kala go because Kala is legitimately in that top tier of swordsmen.
100%.
But Kaladin Brood is simply the man who can destroy the world.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like with just straight up a fucking hammer. So yeah. So this one actually I think does occur in the Icebush, right?
As part of a group, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they exchange some blows, so it'd be interesting to see what people think would happen in a one-on-one scenario.
I mean, Rolandurus kind of might be at an advantage in a tournament like this.
Right.
Because he's just a monster.
Yeah, totally.
Although if we do ban magic, then does that make Rolandurus...
That's what's weird, right? Because he was like a divers, but then he was also like just soul taking one animal, I think, in the... I don't know. I don't remember which one. I think it changes.
So I think when we see him in Li Heng in the ice books, he's a huge monster.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a giant jackal man type thing.
Yeah, and when we see him in Deadhouse Gates and House of Chains in the 10 big books, yeah, he was like 6 or 7 wolves. In fact, he's increased in power when Karsa meets him. After that, he's more wolves or something in House of Gates than he is in House of Chains than he is in Deadhouse Gates.
That was him,
if I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
I'm saying one man beast, one giant man beast, no million wolves. And in that scenario, I don't know. I still think he beats Urko's ass, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. Even though him in his many wolf form was wary of Karsa.
Yeah.
And Urko Crust was not wary of Karsa for good reason. And we could still find the Karsa connection to scale in reverse, so to speak.
Yeah, totally.
But I think Rolandurus still, because of the ice books where a whole bunch of them had to team up, and then it was like a Segula or something who's there. I think I think Shimmer's there. I think a whole bunch of strong guys are there. So Rolandurus has to be my pick.
Yeah, So we'll see where that one goes. That one's at least a really good matchup, though. You know what I mean? It is like you could make a case both ways, like you said, through
you could write an exciting fanfic short story about the confrontation between these two. They're good enough for that.
Yeah, 100%. This not so much. This is Murillo from Memories of Ice. Well, I guess he's from the whole thing, right? He goes all the way in.
Murillo's claim of fame is having a tragic death in Toll the Hounds.
Yeah, so that's where he meets his buddy Gorlast, the buddy everybody loves. He's going up against Rel, who's like this insane one-man army in I think it's Return of the Crimson Guard. So and he used to be a Segula, and I don't know how high ranked he was, but he was pretty damn good.
I would say Rel probably takes on Murillo and his friends and his Darujistan friends.
Yeah, exactly. Did we have Ralik Nam? I think we did have Ralik Nam because last time
Ralik Nam might be an exception.
Yeah,
but those other guys like Cole and all that, forget about it.
Yeah, totally. Murillo's like a fencer basically, and that's not gonna get the job done, unfortunately. Okay, now we have one that's super crazy because Stormy and Draconis, and again with no powers, right? But Draconis is just a sword fighter. We don't know what happens like in Kharkanas and all that, but if they like fought in a one-on-one duel or whatever, but Stormy's pretty formidable though.
Look, Stormy is one of my favorites, but Draconis is literally the most powerful character in the series.
Yeah.
I know that we're removing magic and all that, but it's still Draconis. He's the one who created Draknipur. He's almost like, he's
just years of experience.
Is a kid. Yeah. So I have to give that to Draconis, unfortunately, this is the actual heartbreak.
I know. That's the problem. I think my emotions are clouding my judgment because you just don't want to see Stormy go out in the first round. So this one's really crazy though, right? Because the 12, you have a mortal sword for the whatever Parish Gray, whatever's the Helms, Gray, and then a Segula as well. Senu. He was the one behind he was the middle one, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, once again, a good fight, and Krugava's faith in her god does give her quite a lot of reservoir in terms of power from which she can draw and all that. But Senu is on, unfortunately, another level. He might not be a high-ranking guy.
Yeah.
But we never really see Krugava do anything impressive in terms of the battlefield. The way I see it is with Fenner, it's the Shield Annual and those guys who are impressive, like Ikovian.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas when we take combat-oriented gods like Drake, that's when the Mortal Sword really shines through.
True. Yeah. Although, what's his name? Brucalian really F's up Gethel's face. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's true. Was he the Mortal Sword of Fenner?
He was the Mortal Sword of Fenner, I think. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I do take that back because Brucalian did kind of fuck up what's his name, Gethos's face.
That was hilarious, and he keeps complaining about it.
And what's more hilarious is that the Stila Naimas then turn up.
Yeah.
Totally. When he's about to walk in and attack what's his name, Brucalian. Yeah. And Gethol or Gethos or whatever his name is, Gothos's brother. He's like, listen, you Tila Naimas have no problem with my master, with the Crippled God. This has nothing to do with you. And they're like, no, we don't have a problem with him, but with you, Jagut, we do.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Okay, 13 matches. Okay. I still got
13 is an unlucky number, and for good reason. Korab, you might be a lucky man. Korab, you might be one of the luckiest warriors in this entire series, but 13 is an unlucky number, and your luck has just run out, my dear
totally.
Korab.
And he's superstitious too, so he would have like cringed just at even getting 13, but he's gonna be screwed. Gurul, that's like
he's gonna cringe when he sees 13, but not as much as he cringes when he sees a giant pair of wings descend from the skies for him.
Totally. He's just gonna like kind of grab him up and then just do like a off the top ropes body slam, and that's pretty much gonna be that. So again, another kind of crowd favorite going out early probably in the tournament. I don't want to prejudge these. Maybe there's some like hardcore Korab fans who are like, who the hell is Gurul? So we'll see. This again will be always a test of how many people or how deep people are in the series. So but
I mean, I just need to reserve a fuck you in advance in case that happens. So let me reserve it right now. If Korab ends up beating Gurul in arguments with Iron, all I'd like to say to all of those voters is fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Then we're just not even moving on to the second round of the tournament, and we'll just call it there and give Korab the title and call it.
Yeah.
This one's a heartbreaker, right? Because I like personally both people, and you never want to see either of the guys you like die, but Bryce versus Trots. I mean, I think I always said Bryce is kind of right up at the top of the second tier, bottom of the first tier. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. And as much as we love Trots is a foot soldier. Trots is someone who's one among many, and he does a great job when 5,000 men clash against 5,000 men, let's say.
True.
But Bryce is the guy whom you send as your ace dueler. Bryce is probably on Mock's level.
Totally. That's what I think too. Like he would be up there with the Segula, right? Because he's like insanely skilled. Like you said, you never really see him tested, but like the stuff that you see him get kills against people who are like super revered with like effortlessly. So
yeah. And another thing that we didn't discuss the last time about Bryce is that we shouldn't underestimate how huge the Lettery Empire is. And for you to be the strongest swordsman of that empire, it's kind of like what Darsim was for the Malazans, where if you're the strongest fighter of just some small hamlet somewhere, that's one thing. But when you are the strongest fighter of one of the most powerful military empires, whose identity it is to militarily consume other lands and other people, you have to be at the apex.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. So Bryce is he's gonna do well for himself, I think. So that's 14. 15 is a good one because we put Barathol in, even though we didn't see him in an on-screen fight, he kind of holds his own with those Talon Imass at one point, whatever book that was, the Bonehunters, I think.
We don't really see Coltrane in an on-screen fight that much either. We see him as part of a group once again, but I would have to hand it to Coltrane here. Barathol strong, and I mean, he is Kalam's cousin after all, so there is a certain level of respect that we must give him.
Yeah.
But who deserves more respect than Coltrane? Come on.
Yeah, and Coltane's new to the tournament too. He was one that we just inadvertently left off last time, and somebody in the comments suggested putting Coltane in, and I love it because he's already looking like he's poised to go deeper in the tournament than some of these other guys. Okay, these like Ice Blood dudes are getting the most unlucky draws, right? Because we had Badlands going up against Animator Rake in the first round, and now you have Coots. Whoa. We have Coots going up against Decem in the first round. That's game over pretty much. That's everybody's worst nightmare.
I mean, you can see the 00 in his name, in Coots' name, and that's going to be the scorecard as well. That's a big 00 for you, Coots.
100%. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. He'll probably get like 1%. There were some of those unequivocal ones last time where the vote, but it was like there was like two random people who were like, no, I really do think Coots got this. This one will be interesting because Surly actually recruited, I think, Greymane back in the day to the Empire, and it's two totally different fighting styles. He's like huge and beefy, right? Like he's supposedly a huge bulky dude, and she's like tiny I don't know. That would be an interesting one to watch.
So stylistically, this will be one of the most fun matches to read or watch. If someone decides to write out this match or someone decides to animate this matchup, because even in the last episode, you and I were discussing how we have two types of very powerful fighters here. We have the straight up swordsman and we have the assassins. And here we have a great example of the pinnacle of what a straight up swordsman is and a pinnacle of what an assassin is. So I would have to give it to Greymane simply because of what I was telling you earlier. That conversation that Kaladin Brood and Kala have always runs in my mind, where Greymane, Kaladin Brood, Rake, Dasim, I just put them on a separate level. However, this is a great matchup, and there will be casualties for sure when these two go against each other.
Totally, because like anybody who's read Return of the Crimson Guard, the Surly stuff in there, she's like freaking destroying. So, and that was in like, I think she was like barefooted, and they're like, who's that 5 foot tall person out there just straight up crushing people's heads like tin cans?
And Surly brings an X factor which we can't really translate into a proper mathematical formula, which is things like her memory. Totally. The way she remembers, I think it was Temper's name when he meets her after a long time or something like that.
Yeah, and Ganos, like you said last time, right? She remembers him on the wall, even though she never even like made direct eye contact over that way.
Yeah, so she brings a lot of invisible mental weapons as well.
Totally. And just like you said about Coltane too, it's like you don't rise to the top of those kinds of societies and to the top of the claw and whatever just without being pretty formidable yourself.
Yeah.
18 is going to be interesting. I don't know if I think Skull Death comes later in the books, right? He only comes in like Dust of Dreams, I think.
So there's one scene in Reaper's Gale where he just takes out a bunch of Tistidu, where he kind of jumps and does a maneuver and he kind of beheads a whole bunch of Tistidu. I don't think we kind of get much with him. We just hear that his name's Skull Death. And he saves somebody's life. He just jumps over a person and he just chops off a bunch of Tistidu. I like the anatomical name matchup here. We have skull versus throat. But
the marketing department is going to have a field day with this one, right? Because the posters and stuff they can make is.
Yeah, exactly. We got to make one of those blaxploitation type posters for this as well. But I mean, let's face it. Skull Death is on the supreme level of deadliness, and Throat Slitter is on the absolute shit stain level of deadliness. So
yeah, so that one's pretty much game over. There's 19. I think Lorstariel's gonna go down quick. Or what do you think? I don't know where we put her in the tiers. Do you? But Vorkin's
a rare woman versus woman matchup.
True.
In the very first round.
True.
Vorkin for me is just on a completely different level. Once again, there's just something about Vorkin that I like in terms of the human female characters without any sort of magic or whatever who want ascendance. I've always found Vorkin to be very impressive. So Lostariel, she has her shadow dance and all that, but Vorkin is on another level.
Agreed. And even though it's weird, I was just noticing as you said that, because then there's another like woman on woman one in 24 as well, but which is interesting. 20 though is actually, those are both like, I think not quite top tier for Spinnick Durav, or maybe, but I think he's got to be below Calor, obviously, but against the Watch, that's going to be really entertaining because they're both great sword fighters, just straight up sword on sword.
Yeah, it will be an entertaining fight, but to me, this is the top of tier 2 versus the top of tier 1.
Right.
Like Yedan to me is on the, if there was someone whom I would put against Dasim, let's say, it would have to be Yedan. It would have to be Yedan in terms of just a guy who's a swordsman. So they might fight for half the night instead of the whole night, like he did with Kala. But after they fight for at least half the night, Yedan will find a way. I mean, this guy has fought and killed multiple dragons in one battlefield.
Him against Dawson would be an interesting one, and I really wouldn't know which way to go. You know what I mean? Because it's like, like you said, that stuff in the Crippled God is just, and even actually remember Erickson said how, badass he is too. So
I mean, even though appeal to authority is known as a logical fallacy, in this case, an appeal to authority has to be made because Erickson is on record telling us that for a tournament like this, he would pick Yedan as his winner.
Totally. 100%. So that's, that'll be, although dude, you could make some money in a surprise upset from Spinnick to Rav. You put $100 on that, you become like a multi-millionaire just off that one bet. So
I mean, if that actually happens, I will sort of frame it as homophobia or something like that. Not only, by the way, is Yedan one of the deadliest swordsmen in all of fiction, Yedan is also, as far as I know, one of the few ultra badass gay characters whose identity does not revolve around him being gay.
100%. Yeah. Like you might not even remember that he was gay. You know what I mean? In your first read through, it's just kind of like so much stuff going on and they're late in the books. No, that one's going to be unfortunate for Spinnock. So, but to be expected in these kinds of tournaments, I guess not everybody's going to make it through, especially Stani Manakis, right? Going up against the first sword of the Talon IMAS tool versus Stani Manakis is not even worth really commentating on. She's done.
We're getting a lot of memories of ice today. That's all I can say. I mean,
it's true. Again,
Stani Manakis might have stone in her name, but one actually has a stone sword.
True. So it's Stone versus Stone. And I never noticed that actually. And you saw this was totally random, but it is a lot of like memories of ice linkages. It's your influence, dude. You're just like, you know what I mean? Because that's your jam. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, my sort of since I always draw memories of ice into my orbital pull.
Dude, it's a fact. This next one though is really tough to call, right? I mean, these guys are both insane humans, just weapons master, and he was the best the Eater has. This is one of the best the Crimson Guard fields. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that when Iron Bars looks at Rulard in Memories of Ice, he's like in 5 more, this guy could be as good as Blues. He could be as good as Blues, Shimmer, or even Skinner in 5 years' time. Now, we know that Rulard is not as good as Trull. So, is Rulard 5 years behind Trull? Or by this time, has he already closed the gap? I would have to say that, I mean, I just commented on our previous video that I would get the Blues if Blues gets kicked out in the first round. Yeah. But unfortunately, Trull fights Silchus Ruin. Trull fights Icarium in his rampage mode.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me, Blues is one of my favorite Crimson Guard members. Blue is one of my favorite colors. And Trull Senga has blue skin as well. But Trull Senga has to sort of get this contest in the pocket.
Yeah, this one, I don't know how to call it, because you're right. But then, and Blues has also been alive for like hundreds of years of experience and stuff too. And like, whew, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know which way to go. I guess maybe I'm really a coin flip on that one. I'm just going to have to see what the people say.
So, but you have to kind of put your heart under the guillotine, Ishka. So, who are you going to sort of go with?
You're forcing it. All right. Well, I'm going to pick.
If I'm going to be heartbroken, you're going to be heartbroken too. Trull, okay, wow.
I think I am giving it to Trull.
After canvassing Ishka, after all your sort of heartache over what happened to Blues 2 years ago, you still can't sort of let it go, can you?
No, I can't because and it pains me too because I just want to be repping the ice stuff anyways. But you know, Troll is just like you said. I think the big thing that swayed me is his thing with Icarium. You know what I mean? Because other than that, I mean, just to survive that, and he was in rampage mode, is you can't ignore that. So
yeah.
Mappo Runt versus Possum. Again, this is like two different styles. Mappo is like this giant, like 7-something foot tall dude against an assassin. He was kind of like the third or fourth tier down, or fourth, fifth rank down, I guess. Or
he did become Clawmaster eventually, didn't he?
He did, after Pearl, Topper, and Callum were all gone.
Yeah. So Mappo becomes less impressive as the series goes on.
True.
But Possum was always the type of guy, if I remember right, who always kind of fought with hit and run tactics rather than a fight.
Yeah.
I think Mappo kind of takes this.
Totally. I think so too, because he snatched him out of the air eventually, and he could take enough little, you know, cuts to his legs and this and that where he just absorb all that, no problem.
Yeah.
So I think Mappo gonna crush him eventually. He's gonna be like one of those creatures that jumps out of somewhere in Deadhouse Gates and he just grabs it and then beats the crap out of it.
Mappo's also surprisingly knowledgeable though, because he's traveled the world for so long. There's a lot of shit that Mappo knows about different fighting styles and all that.
Yeah, totally. And it wouldn't be bad to see him stick his teeth into Possum and just take a big, like, hood-sized bite out of him.
Yeah.
I never liked Possum. Too smug. But so yeah, this is the other one. Smiles versus Hatan. Neither of them are incredible. I mean, Smiles, I guess, is pretty deadly, right? Hatan is more bark than bite. I always
see, but Hatan survives the final battle of Memories of Ice.
True. So yeah,
I'm going to go with Hatan.
I am too, just because it's more ingrained from birth for her, right? Versus Smiles just like became nasty via life circumstance or whatever, versus she's been training to be a G her whole life. Although Smiles is just scary though, you know what I mean? She just has that kind of demeanor of like, you would not want to be camped out with Smiles because she's so...
I mean, I wouldn't want to be camped out with Hatan either.
True.
You know, I mean, Hatan is scared. Of course, she becomes more of a house in Dust of Dreams, but True. The Hatan in Memories of Ice is one of the most fierce characters we meet. I mean, she's like this female rapist almost, and she's totally. She's like this female version of Karsa when we see her in Memories of Ice.
100%. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah, giving that one to Hatan as well. 25 is actually a good one because Clip is another suggestion that came out of the comments that we threw in at the last minute before we did the draw, going up against Ublala.
I mean, sort of the logical answer, I would say, would still be Ublala, because even though he's not a skilled warrior, neither is Clip.
Yeah. Clip's all talk too, right? And we do see Clip get his ass handed to him. Yeah. Ublala is just a big tough dude. So, and actually all the Midnight Tide stuff was really fun with Ublala, but I think he helps her, you know, commit all of her robberies and like crushes a couple heads in the process, just like inadvertently crashes the balcony and all that stuff. So, but I don't know, Clip has those things on the string or whatever.
Ublala Pang kills Calm.
True. Yeah. Okay. Game over. That did sell me.
You know, I mean, I Ublala's Pang getting clipped, but I mean, especially with the armor that is now unearthed with the Draconis and all that, Ublala has to be the winner.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see what people pick on that. Tar, who, as you said, is, you know, comes out of every scrap pretty much as a G, I still think has no chance against Dancer.
Okay, I mean, I just see that we have a big bunch of barn burners after this.
Oh, I haven't even been reading ahead. Yeah.
Tar is certainly very impressive, and Tar survives until the end. But Dance, kind of like the Dasim of assassins, Dancer is arguably the greatest assassin that we see in not just the 10 big books, but the ice books as well. So Dancer has to get this.
100%. 100%. Oh my God. Yeah, we do have a lot of barn burners. 27 Skinner versus Karsa Orlong. So this is the absolute best that the Crimson Guard, who is in and of themselves, you know, also incredibly formidable against the most formidable person that's ever like walked the earth, pretty much, except for Icarium.
And interestingly, these two as well have a lot of mutual people they've crossed paths with. So Dasim is obviously the first one, but you remember that Segula's second guy, whom we see in Toll the Hounds, and so in the Bonehunters, when he comes out of the Temple of the Worm or whatever, he screams Skinner, and he's hunting for Skinner, the Segula second, if you remember.
Yeah, totally. And it was in he was looking for him as well in whatever, when Crocus and Hiboric were like in that place that Karsa where he killed that demon thing. Is that what you're talking about?
So that's where he comes out and he's like, Skinner, I'm gonna get you. And then
and he had like 100 different weapons on him. Yeah,
he's stronger than Mark. He's the Segula second.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So and later on in Toll the Hounds, the same Segula is the one who fights alongside Karsa against the Hounds. And he's like, it's been a long time. I've heard the Toblakai war cry, and I hope I don't hear it again.
That's true.
So this is, I mean, I would have to put Karsa there. Skinner, once again, as we were saying, has to be like top tier at the bottom because he's like right below the Dasim level.
Yeah.
But Karsa is probably at the Dasim level.
100%. Yeah, I'm giving it to Karsa just because you can't ever really, it's hard to envision someone you're going to put him up against where you're going to have a hard time choosing. But Skinner is, I mean, that's a crazy one to think Skinner not making it through the first round of the tournament.
Can you believe it?
So stuff like that's gonna happen. Callum versus Temper. This one's, I think, a little easier.
I mean, firstly, Temper is strong, right? Yeah. I mean, Temper is not to be underestimated. Temper did fight some impressive opponents and all, but Kalam's sort of Robert Ludlam, Jason Bourne type at the end of the Bonehunters, that is forever etched in my memory, and I have to give him the nod. As strong as Temper is, I have to give Kalam the nod.
Me too. And the Deadhouse Gates stuff, right? Where he goes, or was it Deadhouse Gates or Memories of Ice? But where he goes, it's Deadhouse Gates, and he talks to Lysine and whatever. And it's like almost like a replay of that, except for he was like fighting his way in or whatever instead of fighting his way out. Those are screaming to be adapted.
Deadhouse Gates was more his adventure side, where he travels through the desert and he manages to make his way to Malaz City and all that, while the end of Bonehunters was him being John Wick or John Rambo or whatever, where he's just massacring people.
Yeah, I got to give it to Callum there. He is like one of the most gnarly people, especially by the end, right? He does, like, he was already legendary by Gardens of the Moon time frame, but then like you see him do so much crazy stuff. So 29 is kind of a throwaway, but Surgeon Rest is the guy who like fights what's his name to a standstill, Dasim. So
if I remember right, the two of them are going, and then a claw member injures Dasim or something like that.
Right.
Am I remembering that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So Surgeon, but then doesn't Ferul or Temper or someone then fight Surgeon Rest after that?
Yeah, I think so. And like people thought it was Dasim or something, and he was like, just like, oh no, yeah, he was protecting him so they could like fall back to the,
so that Dasim could retreat.
Yeah, totally. So and you know, that means he's not quite the top tier if Temper could hold him off, right? But then Ambi and Jula
is Temper capable of fighting someone who is capable of lasting against Dasim?
Yeah, I mean that's a good, like, you know, vote in his favor too, just like that Dasim would pick him, right? Because it was basically his right hand man. It seemed like that he's like the closest one to Dasim, and so that's also, you know, something he's got going for him.
The thing is, we consider Whiskeyjack to be extremely strong merely because Darcy needed to work a bit to get to him. We consider Skinner to be extremely strong merely because he survives an encounter with Darcy.
True.
So,
yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, I would say Surgeon Dress beats either Ambi or Jula Bowl. But if the two of them come together, which is kind of like an unfair advantage anyway, if it's the two of them together, I think the Bowl Brothers.
I think so too. I think I would give it to the Bowl Brothers just because, you know, even though he might be like neck and neck or whatever, these two together, I think just like they're bare hand kind of brawlers and they'll do whatever it takes to not die, essentially. So I think that's
and they have these special bones that they can even like break walls and stuff with.
Totally. Yeah. So okay. We'll see where that one goes. We'll see how many people have read Ice, I guess, because that's a flashback from Knight of Knives, I think.
Well, Amber and Jula Bowl turn up in book 9 or something anyway, so True. It's going to be
one of those roll of the dice coin flips for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, good. Now it's a good thing we're doing these previews for those people who aren't afraid
Iskar, look at this. Memories of Ice, Mortal Sword versus Mortal Sword. You cannot write this kind of stuff. This was completely random.
Dude, this is what happened last time too. This is why these are great, is because you can't make this up. And the fights that you get, these like script themselves, right? So you got one god on the way out, one god on the way up, or whatever.
So Grunter literally takes Brochelain's place in many ways, because Drake literally takes Fenner's place.
100%.
So Gruntle in many ways literally takes Brochelain's position. I'm gonna have to go with Brochelain here simply because Brochelain clearly had the mental strength to deal with being the mortal sword of a god and to kind of fight his way to a heroic victory. Gruntle, on the other hand, clearly did not have the mental strength with the power granted to him. He's kind of like, if there's the Justice League, Iskar, and there was an alien invasion, right? Superman can't be like, oh, you know what? I don't really want to be this powerful. You guys go take care of it. No, totally. You're Superman. You need to do this, right? You can't depend on Batman or Aquaman or whatever to take on an alien army that invades Earth. Similarly, you can't really complain about this great power, especially in a world like the Malazan world, where survival is so difficult, where power can ensure the prosperity and stability of you and your loved ones.
I hear that.
He just lacked the headspace and the mental fortitude, or whatever you want to call it, to deal with that. And I would say that should count for something.
I hear you. I just keep like flashing back to him, like literally packing an apartment building like to the ceilings of every floor with dead bodies, though. And like, if you piss Gruntle off, then that's also a huge, that's the thing. It's like, whether, you know what I mean, you have somebody who's well composed and very deliberate and stuff versus, you know, some dude who's like super emo until he like flies off the handle and goes into full berserker kind of destruction mode. So
as in, if his story had ended there, Iskar, he would have been on the Bryce Bedick level. He would have been on the top. If his story was out. That, I mean, collapsed from the weight of the dead bodies and all that, I completely agree with you. But he clearly fizzled out after that. He clearly did not have the sort of inner power, the inner strength to deal with that kind of sort of fighting ability.
Yeah, he kind of crumbles under the weight of it. Poor guy. I know. I just hate to vote against people I like, though. Damn it. Yeah. And Brochelain, like you said, that's like Tajaga just totally kind of smacking the shit out of Gethel. So,
and I mean, really dealing with that, especially when match up like this, Imagine a matchup like this playing out where it's going to be Fenner versus Treach, and
Totally.
Bauchelain believes in Fenner while Grunt in Treach.
Yeah.
It's that's the storyline we're looking for. And
totally. What a bitch and fight poster though, right? You have like the guy and then the wolf in the background, the guy and the, you know what I mean, the tiger or whatever, and whatever Fenner's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's made for fan art.
Totally. What was Fenner? He's like a warthog or something. He's like a
Fenner's
like
exactly
a wild boar, basically.
The boar versus the wolf, right? I mean, two sort of historical motifs of many armies and all that.
Yeah, classic.
The boar versus the tiger, sorry.
Yeah, the imagery is beautiful there. Kiska versus Mayfly. Mayfly is one of the people who we said was just like, what the fuck are you doing here type of a bone hunter that got thrown in to make numbers, I think, last time.
Mayfly has to either fly away or kiss her chances goodbye because of Kiska. I mean, I'm still trying here, Ishka. So.
I appreciate you. And, you know, Kiska's not top tier, but she's definitely, I think, probably somewhere in the lower middle tier. She's not too bad.
Although, you know what, from after we had that talk yesterday, because I can't remember the ice books that well, I do remember a scene where Kiska was hidden in a room where Kaul or Teshren or someone speak to each other, and Kaul doesn't spot Kiska hiding.
Nice. Yeah, I don't remember that, but she is like a pretty, I think she was like fairly high ranking claw before she kind of detached and went and did her own thing.
Yeah.
So she's kind of in that possum thing. I think she'd probably kick Possum's ass. Maybe that'd be an interesting matchup to see. I
mean, probably, and she's in a more protagonistic sort of light in the story as well. So that always helps.
Yeah, that always helps me. I'm a sucker for that. If it's like one of the good guys, then I'm already, you know what I mean? I don't read too much deeper than that. So very
I like what I do to the bad guys. If you're bad, then I probably like you. Yeah.
This in a way is kind of like too old guard, right? 32, because Gessler, even though he's like a sergeant or whatever, he has a history there. And then Ferrul was like third or fourth under Dawson with temper.
So this is something where I have to put my sense of logic aside, and I have to just give myself an emotional victory. I've been going by logic for about 32 matchups now.
Iskar, you're so analytical up to this point.
The least give my boy Gessler a victory, especially after Stormy's gone.
Yeah, totally. Gessler, this is going to be the one where you wear the T-shirt of the guy to the match, and you're going to be like cheering him on.
Yeah, I mean, he saved the heart of the Crippled God. He saved the day. At the end of the 10 books, he was the who actually held on for that main artifact to not by the forces of evil. And he gave his life for a dog.
Totally. Yeah. And just like the heartbreak, the sacrifice, all of that stuff, like, all the truth culmination from way back before. And I'm good with that. I'm going, actually, I don't know. I think, again, he's just one of those people that you don't want to like piss off, or like, you know what I mean? You set him on a quest and the guy's like going to be dogged in terms of getting it done. And Ferrul, I think, is kind of short and stumpy too. Like, I think they're kind of like similar builds and stuff physically. I
hope Gessler kicks his ass.
Yeah, it would be a great fight for sure. Because I don't know, Gessler like breaks Coltane's jaw, right, with just one punch, and it was like the crack heard around the world and all that.
No, stuff. as in Coltane punches Gessler and Coltane's hand breaks.
Oh yeah, and breaks Coltane's hand that way.
Because Gessler's already become a sort of a semi-ascendant at this point.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess the winner and break the rule of, I would say Gessler beats Ferrul.
Interesting. 33 is Hellion versus Shortnose. So they're not in the same squad, right? But they're definitely Bonehunters, like adjacent to each other.
And they're both just regular people.
They're both just regular people, no special powers. Hellion, drunk or sober. Shortnose, I guess it doesn't matter. Hellion's not the greatest fighter, right? Like Herb knocks her out cold easily, like drags her around. I don't know.
I mean, but Hellion's just got that luck. Hellion's just got that sense where she comes out on top. I mean, I think she makes short work of Short Nose and probably gives him hell. I would have to go with Hellion.
She is so lucky too, man. I just how she like stumbles on Banishar all drunk after she like swims ashore and whatever book that was, 6, I think.
She always comes out of the most dangerous situations unscathed.
100%. Yeah, I got to give it to Hellion too. She outranks him if nothing else. So, Osirk versus Pearl again. No magic. Pearl relies on magic. He's definitely more of a hit and run, stab you in the back, shoot you in the back kind of a guy. Versus Osirk is very much more a blunt instrument, physically and mentally.
Once again, you have hundreds of thousands of years of experience versus a regular guy. I mean, even if magic was allowed, I don't see how Pearl has any chance against a guy like Osirk, who's literally on the Anamander Rake level. He is to his people what Rake is to his people. So Osirk has to come on top.
Yeah, and it's satisfying for me to see Pearl go because I'm
a bit sad. I'm not going to be sort of I'm not going to lie here. I'm a bit sad to see Pearl go. But once again, I've already given myself an emotional victory with Gessler. I have to go logic here.
Yeah, totally. And he just he gets worse and worse in my book, Pearl. I just again, and actually how he dies is kind of poetic too, right? Because even his own homies who he's like, oh, I'm the head of the claw now, and then they're like, nope. So okay, this one I left in because what the hell, but again, no magical powers. But what a fucking matchup, right? Hood versus Iron Bars. Come on.
So this is where we see God just getting fucked with unfair picks. It's almost as if the randomizer we used just wants all the. So Blues legitimately out, Skinner legitimately out, Shimmer, I think, legitimately out. I mean, we don't know about Shimmer yet, but who was the other Crimson Guard member?
Skinner,
who we spoke about? Yeah, so Skinner's gone.
Yeah.
Blues has to be gone.
Oh yeah, Blues is gone too to troll. Exactly.
Yeah. Was there any other Crimson Guard we came to?
Skinner yet, versus Karsa, he's gone. Blues is gone. I think that was it for the.
Well, we have the next one then with Hood versus Iron Bars.
Yeah,
Iron Bars is
brutal.
Yeah. I mean, when we spoke about Gessler saving the day earlier, it was actually Hood who saved the day. Let's face it, Gessler just remained alive until Hood literally sort of chomped the face off the final villain of the series.
Yeah, 100%.
The Grim Reaper versus one of the top tier swordsmen is still going to go in the favor of the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, 100%. So, and it's just crazy, right? We're going to have a Malazan tournament with no Iron Bars, Skinner, or Blues potentially even making it through to the second round. So that's a pretty good tournament by my book. What do you think? Do you think Shimmer will make it? Because you said Shimmer. Were you?
I would put Shimmer on the Blues level, particularly because Iron Bar says that in 5 years, Rulard might be strong as Blues, Shimmer, or even Skinner. So I would have to put Shimmer as someone who uses the 10 big books as my major evidence for how strong characters are. I'm going to have to go with Shimmer on this one.
Me too. I love both characters. I love Kyle too, and I like Shimmer. But Shimmer's just an epic badass. She was like the elite guard of some king before even she becoming Crimson Guard, and she fights with those like whip sword things or whatever. That'd be bitching to see on film, right? Just to see her freaking. So yeah, I got to give that one to Shimmer. So at least there is some high caliber Crimson Guard, hopefully, that will go through, even though it'll be sad to see my boy Kyle go. Stalker's the other one of the like whatever those Ice Blood dudes going up against Silchas Ruin. That one's pretty much no competition.
Silchas would ruin him.
Yeah, Stalker is going to get ruined by Silchas. Ruined. Same thing with Lorne. God bless her, but there's no way that she can go up against the top Segula. Jan can pretty much. I mean, he's got to go deep in the whole tournament.
I mean, and Lorne has her Otatural sword and all that, but this is not the tournament where she can cash in on that as an advantage.
Exactly. That's not going to help her one bit. So, yeah, Jan 38. Okay. This one we made fun of, but actually in Orb Sceptre Throne, Fisher does get into a big bar brawl and actually helps out a little bit. Do you think there's any chance this makes it past like 10 seconds?
So the fan response seems to be that I am underestimating Fisher.
Yeah.
And maybe I am, I don't know. I mean, maybe I am, I don't know, right? So maybe, I mean, I remember that scene, but Red Mask is someone who's involved in I mean, as in insurgency, not counterinsurgency. And look, two characters who are quite close to my heart because I'm involved in counterinsurgency in real life and Red Mask is an insurgent.
Yeah.
I'm also somewhat of a history teacher in real life, and Fisher is a kind of historian.
Yeah.
So both these names are close to my heart in terms of what my own personal passions are, but I'm gonna have to go with Red Mask on this. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but and maybe I'm missing out on some scene here where Fisher was this big bad, but Red Mask is where my vote goes at the moment. What about you, Ishka? Because you seem to remember that scene better than I did.
Yeah, there was like that scene when all the like pickled Segula in Orb Sceptre Throne were like under the bar and they started coming out and there was like assassins coming at them and all of that stuff. And I think he helped out. And also in Assail, he goes and he's like partners with Jethus or whatever. And I think he even helps out a couple times. There was like that big stone skeleton bridge guardian thing that he but I don't know. I think I got to give it to Red Mask, but I just think he has kind of similar physical characteristics as the Ice Blood. Like, you know, he's one of those Kyle types or whatever. So I don't know. I do think you're underestimating him. I don't think he could probably beat Red Mask though, who's just like literally trains to fight every single day. So
and Fisher hooks up with Lady Envy in Toll the Hounds as well, right?
Yeah, he totally hooks up with her, and
I wouldn't mind giving him points just for that. So
totally, yeah, and he holds his own against their little guardians, or he's always like kind of. I think I remember him shit talking her guards and stuff all the time.
I think Turul or Sinu might have been one of them. I can't remember.
Yeah, because Thurul hooks up with those two. It's like this guy Madram and Lazan Dor, some weird like former Segula, and then they dress all ornate, and Thurul's all like, you know, kind of cast out, or he's like reeling from his experience, and then he ends up like going with them, and they, yeah.
So I mean, maybe Fisher takes it, I don't know, but right now I would say Red Mask still has my vote.
This one's hilarious, right? Because Grub is in, so 40 has Grub in, because Grub's like the future first sword or whatever. That's like one of the epigraphs, right? But like as of right now, he's like a 12, 13-year-old kid going up against the head of the assassination squad for the Crimson Guard.
So here's the thing, right? Would Cowl run away from Grub the way he ran away from Topper?
Probably not.
There's something about Cowl which is dangerous. This is the only other thing that I would say, right? So
yeah,
a lot of people in the series are very wary of Grub for some reason.
True.
They consider him very dangerous for some reason.
Yeah.
So if Cowl is perceptive enough to spot what all those other people did, perhaps he would say, because we already know that Cowl's the type who doesn't mind running away from a fight.
100%, yeah, and just like picking his moments and all of that stuff. Like he becomes very cackly and kind of like cryptic Joker in the
and the fact that we already know Grub has a future. Also, it's kind of like the John Connor rule, right? So the fact that we already know Grub has a future way down into the line means that something must happen in the fight between Cowl and Grub for Grub to survive.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. Freaking. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because he was formidable even in you know what I mean, in his own time or whatever before he even gets some of that stuff like that. You know, Sin's scared of him too, and even though they're friends and whatever. So
yeah.
41 is interesting because Ithkovian's like really formidable, but not necessarily for his like fighting prowess, whereas Andarist we see is actually able to hold off many Fist Eater at the same time.
It's like they get into an argument over who is more tragic and who's willing to take on a more tragic sacrifice. Andarist is like, my sacrifice is more tragic than yours. And Ithkovian's like, no, my sacrifice is more tragic than yours. It's the battle of the tragedies, so to speak. I find Ithkovian's sacrifice to be one of the seminal moments of the 10 big books, but once again, I'm a Memories of Ice kind of guy.
Yeah.
Out. On a purely power level, though, come on, Andarist is royalty after all. Andarist is a kind of ascendant after all. So, with a heavy heart, I would have to say Andarist.
I know. Look at that. Team Tist Andy is, you know, celebrating right now at your comments. It's all recorded, so everyone can hear it. But I agree with you. I think, you know, he's one of the great characters. And actually, I love the stuff like in Toll the Hounds with Ithkovian too. I know everyone like kind of struggles on Toll the Hounds, but I liked all that stuff.
So how many T-Standy do we have? I mean, Spinock Durev did not have a good...
no, I think we said he's gone, but then we got Silchas and Andarist and Animander, the three brothers all going through.
That's true. And Topper is half, so he's gone through as well.
And we said Clip is going to get beat, so he's probably gone, so that's good.
Yeah, so Spinock gets spun out and Clip gets clipped, but the others
clipped. Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and then the last one is Ralik Nam versus what's her name's brother, Sang's brother from Blood and Bone. I got to give it to Ralik Nam because he's just too big and lumpy and clunky, even though he has built-on armor. I think. And
Ralik Nam is extremely good assassin. Of course, we don't see him do much in the series later on, but in Memories of Ice, he still comes off as someone who's quite a respected assassin, and people do have a high regard for his assassination skills.
100%, which actually kind of reminds me, or I'm realizing now that we don't have Cutter on there, and that would have been a good one, or maybe for the next tournament because we left him off. But Cutter, like, remember when he comes home and like Ralik Nam sneaks up on him or whatever, and he like almost totally fucking kills him.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we probably should have arguably had Cutter on there because depending on where you are, Cutter could potentially beat even Ralik Nam's ass.
We could still put Cutter in there and come up with another name, and we could just...
That's true. And we could round it out and just add one more name to our list. I think there is one more name.
There must be Malazan heavies whom we could just put in there.
Totally. We'll put a heavy in there, or we'll see what happens in the comments on this one, and we'll have time when we launch the thing. If somebody throws out a good name that we forgot to add, then we can throw that in. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, so my biggest so who are your saddest sort of ousted people for this round discussion, and whom are you sad to see go?
Yeah, so I have a lot of heartbreakers, honestly, because I was sad to see Blues go. I think it's going to be really sad just to see Stani go, even though she shouldn't even be in there. But Spinock Durav is also, I think, going to be a big one that's going to make me struggle, right? Just because I love him as a character. Iron Bars, all the ice characters, right? I think those are all big ones to watch because it's just, those are, just the luck of the draw. And I just love all the Memories of Ice linkages, right? Like the Bruchalian versus Gruntle. There's some great ones, actually.
My saddest result here has to be Stormy. I mean, seeing Stormy matched up against who was it? Was it
Stormy is going up against Draconis. Yeah, that one's brutal. Yeah, Trot's going out early, probably to rise to the ditch.
Trots.
Yeah, so there's a lot of heartbreakers for me, and some that I'll be actually genuinely happy to see some people get killed. So, but yeah, Kyle, I'm a big Ice fan, and Kyle probably gets his ass beat first round. That's going to be heartbreaking, but it is cool that we have so many good. Like, I love the randomizer because I think it just creates some really interesting tension out of thin air.
And it is an Ice character who beats Kyle anyway, so you still get something out of it.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it's a win for Ice fans no matter what for Shimmer versus Kyle. So I think we'll I'm gonna start putting these onto the thing starting next week. So we'll just see where the voting comes in. What do you think? Should we run 2 a day or 1 a day? It's a pretty big list. I don't want it to take months and months if we.
Yeah, I mean 2 a day. It has to be 2 a day.
Yeah, so I think we'll do 2 matchups a day and we'll just burn through the list. It'll take a couple of weeks. We may do like a midweek recap or something like that, or just to see, or just if there's something kind of noteworthy that we should comment on, then we'll do that in the interim.
As in, once the results start coming in, we will have stuff to say.
100%. Yeah, I will be complaining. I'll be trash talking. Hopefully you will too. I don't know if anybody's going back and reading the comments. It's still going on the first video. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, it was fun hanging out today. I appreciate your time. Tell everybody, well, I'll put it at the beginning. I forgot to do this at the very beginning, but say the name of the podcast and the episodes or whatever so that they can find it. And then I'll also put it in the description.
Thank you, Iskar. So the name of my podcast is The High Fist.
Yes.
And I'm planning to post a lot of other stuff there, but I am doing a series called Malazan for Dummies, where I go through the entire Malazan 10 big books, scene by scene, and I explain the stuff that you need to keep in mind as you keep moving forward. So it's going to be a guide sort of for people just getting into the 10 big books.
Yeah, and it's already getting really, really good feedback. So I'll post all that stuff in the description below, and then I'll cut to the beginning of the video here. But and then I'll come back and say thank you so much for joining. It was a blast, and thanks everybody for watching. I'm super excited for the votes to start rolling in. I hope you all enjoy. And Mr. High Fist, thank you for your time. We'll see you on the next one.
For inviting me, as always. The best conversations we have that involve violence in some way. So this was one of the best talks we've had.
Yeah, exactly. Themes are great, but it's all about who can kick whose ass. Let's be honest. So
always.
Yeah. So, well, we'll leave it there and we'll come back when the voting's in. We'll see you on the next one.